Oh, this is the first person who ever paid me to take photos of him. 100,000 subscribers. We did it. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to look back a little bit and see the photographs that I took when I was just starting out and I didn't have a camera but just used my maybe iPhone 7 or iPhone 8, and then talk a little bit about the journey of becoming a photographer. I have all the photographs here. This is shit. Here I'm sitting and I see two mariachis walking and it's nice light and it's all good, but I'm too lazy to actually stand up and go to the street, so they would have like almost like an Abbey Road kind of feeling to it. Instead you just see me taking the photograph, sitting down and probably having my coffee. But I didn't put in the extra work that makes it a good photograph. When people make these videos, like look at how I started out and look at where I am, it's always some trashy photograph that they took 7 years ago and then they compare it to like a perfect photograph they took recently. And I think that just gives people a false expectation about the photographer who they are watching. Like I took bad photos last week. I take bad photos all the time. You just don't see them that much. Here are some of them. So I don't want to make it like this is where I am and now I'm here. It's not about that. Oh, I remember this photograph. This was probably the first time I was going out of my way to do a street portrait. We were having some drinks or something and I saw these two people coming next to us. And with friends, I went out of my way to stop them to ask for a portrait together. And some of the people who were left at the table took a photo of me doing so and having this conversation with them. But I remember this and I remember the couple. It's funny, once you take photographs of someone, you remember it forever. Like you maybe not remember exactly what you talked about, but you have a feeling of what happened and a vibe that sticks with you. A vibe. Oh, look at this dance. That's something I loved photographing in Mexico. Yo necesito practicar.
Pues vale,
Sí, pero...
enséñalo.
Ok, listo.
No le entiendo yo, a ver, ¿qué es para video este?
Sí, o sea, que
¿Quién sabe?
es gabacho, es de Dinamarca.
¿Ah, Dinamarca?
Sí, eso es de gente más sencilla.
Ah.
Sí, ahí está, sí, bueno.
Look at these two. This was one of my first street portraits too. And look at the light in their eyes. Dad and daughter. I love these kind of photographs. I have a thing when it comes to photographs of couples or family together that is just very heartwarming, and I love this photograph. What am I thinking here? Like, you can see the iPhone doing its thing in the corners of the image. I have no idea why I wanted to photograph this, but yeah, it is, it's horrible. Also, it's fine that it's horrible. You need to start somewhere. It's kind of like these books when you read an autobiography. I was just so hooked on the guy from Red Hot Chili Peppers autobiography and Keith Richards. It's always the first half of the book that is interesting. When they have made it and when they have band problems, who cares? But in the beginning, where they are just starting out and they have no idea what they're doing, that's the interesting part. And that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Not that I'm Keith Richards, I know. But the fact that you see someone being naive and just trying out whatever works without knowing the rules and without caring about the rules either. And without having an audience or expectations or anything. It's just you and no followers or nothing. So I might trash some of it, but I do appreciate all of it. Okay, maybe this was my first ever candid portrait. I remember I was so scared taking this photograph because look at the guy. He looks like a character, but he also looks a little bit rough on the edges. And I was so scared that when I took it, would he move his head up and just face me? I loved the photograph and I was scared to take it, I remember. Oh, look at these two. This whole thing about being a fly in the wall, that's fine. But look at them, they are genuinely happy. And you didn't ruin anything, you just captured a beautiful photograph for them. So I don't get the hate on street portraits to say it's a less of an image. I truly don't. This here is when I think my mom would say I first got into street photography. We were sitting at a cafe in Copenhagen and the rain started pouring down, and for some reason I just by instinct went out of my way to get completely drenched in the rain to take this photograph. I can't really explain why I did it. I thought somehow it would be worth it. This one I remember as well. It's just gonna be me talking about how beautiful my images are. No, but this one I remember. I love the leading lines and the movement. Doesn't matter. It's kind of cool. Trying some new angles, trying to do some top down. Again, another street portrait. And this was such a great way for me to do a couple of things. One is to walk around in a new city, which was Mexico City for me. The other thing was learning photography, and the third thing was trying to learn Spanish. So using a little bit of words and trying to figure it all out.
Where do you come from?
I'm de Dinamarca.
Dinamarca.
Sí, pero vivo en México para 2 años.
Ah, no, ya hablas español.
Sí, un poquito.
It was one of my favorite times in Mexico, and something I can never have again, which is fine, but a really dear memory. This was probably one of the first times that I went to a place to take a photograph. I knew there was some nice buildings around this area, which is Polanco in Mexico, like a fancy neighborhood. I like the photograph. I don't know, it's not amazing. I like the perspective, I like the experimentation on my side. Okay, I hate this photograph though. I don't know why. Like, why? This, I was already doing the slow shutter speed in the beginning. I just published a video 1 week ago about a more refined version of doing this. This is probably one of the first time where I talked to someone who looked a little bit more rough and asked for a street portrait. And I remember him, he was cool and everything. I loved taking the low angle portraits. Here we have a silhouette. I think this was my first silhouette, and I think this might be one of my first black and white style. Oh, look at them. What a beautiful photograph. Again, I think there's some part about families that is just perfect. Sometimes people get upset about taking pictures of kids, but there's just such a genuine emotion that it's difficult for a lot of people. Once they get older, they kind of lose it, and we get more, we concern ourselves more about how we are perceived, I guess, and kids just don't have that, and that's the beautiful part. And this is the first photograph that I thought was of quality that I took, the very first one. I remember coming home after taking this photograph and thinking maybe photography was something I should pursue. This is kind of cool. Oh, this is the first person who ever paid me to take photos of him. I remember he walked into this bus and he had a bag on with different clothes that he could wear. I said, I'll take your bag so you don't have a bag on the photographs. So he walks into the bus, the door's shut, and then the bus just starts driving, and I'm here with his bag, and we just met. It was pretty funny. This is the very first photograph that I published with my Ricoh GR2, which was my very first digital camera. And now I'm excited. Now I think, okay, what can I do with photography? Now I have a real camera. And then I post this one. Beautiful. Here I used flash. I never use flash anymore. I want to get back to it. And there's not enough people who use flash and who knows how to use it. Like everyone is always like, I just need the natural light. And people who shoot flash are like, yeah, we know. This is such a good example of why you don't want to shoot with like a 1.5 or 1.2 all the time. Look at the two couple in the background. I think they make up as much as the photograph as him and as the building with the windows in the back. I really, really like this one. It was one of my best. I was walking around at night, just trying out my camera, flashing people through their cars. It was pretty wild, but I love the result. I need to do this. Oh, this is the one. As you can read here, this year I'll post 365 photographs a year. This was such a pivotal moment for me because I didn't know how to use my camera. As you see, I'm just trying out everything. I didn't know what ISO, shutter speed or aperture was. So I needed a lot of experience. I've said this before, but I was like, if I don't use this camera, it's just gonna collect dust. So I committed to post a photo every day for a year from Mexico City, and that would make sure that I was getting forced to go on the streets with my camera. That's so cool. When I started taking pictures, I didn't have any plans on buying a real camera. I just wanted to shoot with my phone. And when I bought my first camera, I thought I might as well just put a GoPro on it and film it, because then people like me who have no experience in photography might learn something on the way. Today I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna mount a GoPro on my camera and show a day of doing street photography here in Mexico City. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And fast forward to today, where I'm sitting in Logic trying to fix my sound, having a microphone, an amplifier, Final Cut, color correction, all of this just because I wanted to show how it was taking photos. But that's also what a lot of you guys have been saying. like that you like to be with me on the journey. And sometimes photography and YouTube in general can be very polished and people only want to show their best. I think it's a cool space that we have here where you guys don't expect me to show the final result of something perfect, but you like to be with me through the whole process, and I appreciate that, and that's where I'm comfortable as well. But in terms of what's next for this channel, I'll keep doing my tutorials and my photo walks. I'm working on my very first documentary, like a short one, maybe 20 minutes, 25, about my experience of living in a Muay Thai camp in Thailand for 7 months and having my very first fight. I'm so excited to share that, and it goes hand in hand with me wanting to up my skills in filming and editing as well, and storytelling for that matter. And this is me 10 seconds before I'm about to fight a guy from Thailand who has around 30 fights, and my coach reminding me to keep my hands up and relax.
Okay, no hurry away, hands up, yap, keep, yap, keep.
And speaking of documentaries, the Music Bet Challenge is here. It's a 30-day short film competition where you can submit your own short film in 3 different categories to get a chance to win a portion of $60,000 in cash and prizes. The 3 categories you can submit in are spec ad, documentary and narrative. But you need to hurry up because the last chance to submit is 15th of August. In order to enter the competition, click the link in my description and download the Music Bet Challenge starter kit. Good luck. I have a whole new series that I'm writing right now that I think will be very interesting. I'm not gonna say that much about it right now, but you will see. You'll love it, I'm sure. And lastly, I'm working on a really interesting project about how photographers can break through the noise and get the exposure that they deserve. More on that later. And I want to say thank you to you. 100,000 is an insane number. And there's so much content being produced these days on so many different platforms, and the bar in terms of the quality has been so much higher than it was for maybe 6-7 years ago. So I appreciate that you take the time to watch what I produce. And because I'm now doing this full time, I have more drive and motivation ever to create something worth watching. So thank you for sticking around.